Live.
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 We're
Live.
streaming in front of a live studio
Wait, are we
audience.
streaming?
No.
No. Oh, okay. Thank God. Hey everyone, we are the creators, writers, and editors of Sunforged Studios, and today we're going to be answering some of the most asked questions that we've got both online and in person about some of the stories we're working on. And the first question that we're going to be answering is, what is Lightstone, and when is it planned to be released?
So Lightstone is a darker fantasy setting, kind of like in medieval times, about Lillian, whose life she was fated to die and was spared by a miracle, and now she's set out to do the same for others. It is definitely a darker tone. It is set out to be released at the end of this year, hopefully, so sometime near December. The sooner the better. It's going to be about 200 something pages long in full color, and we're really that was something we were all really adamant about, is I wanted full color for this. And it is I'm so excited to be able to bring it to you guys this year.
One of the frequently asked questions we get about Lightstone is about Lillian, who she is, and why we chose her to be the main character.
That's honestly a really funny question, because Lightstone has gone through a lot of main characters. Lillian is the main focus of the story, but Lightstone has a wide cast of characters, and all of them are really important and central to the story. And the story sometimes will take a break from Lillian and follow another character for a while. But Lillian was ultimately decided to be the main character because she represented a lot of what the story needed. Story is a really dark tone. It's really about the darker sides of life and what it can do to a person. And we wanted the main character to be that little bit of light that can shine through and give you that little bit of hope to push on, and kind of give the readers that little hope. They're like, hey man, things suck right now, but it can get better. You just have to try. And that's what Lillian represents.
Fantastic. What inspired the creation of it?
So I keep saying 8, but I think it was like 10 years ago now. Over 10 years ago, I had a dream about me and my friends, in this fantasy setting, hunting down famous tales. And what I mean by famous tales is like Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, like stories, legends even. And has pretty much little to do with what Lightstone is today, but it inspired the original creation. The original characters that are still in the story today are part of that original dream. And so I took this dream and I slowly started building upon it, and it has changed so many times. The people in this voice chat know the beginning of it, the ending of it has gone through quite a few different roller coasters, but I'm very happy with how it has turned out today.
One of the other questions that we get asked a lot is, what is hudor, and how do we plan to release that?
So Hudor is a fantasy world that I've been building since I was 8 years old. It's a setting filled with unique races, elemental magic, ancient mysteries, giant monsters, cozy villages, and stories about hope in the midst of darkness. I like to describe it as equal parts dark fantasy and cozy fantasy. One moment you might be facing a world-ending threat, and the next you're sharing tea with friends at a crossroads tavern. The Tales of Hudor is the larger universe that all of these stories take place in, and my goal is to bring it to life through video games, novels, tabletop adventures, and other interconnected stories, though we will begin with a video game. This isn't just one game, it's a fantasy epic that I hope people can explore for years to come.
For hudor, it is one of the products that we're working on that doesn't have as much out as Lightstone. So could you answer, who is or who are the main characters of hudor?
Well, who's the main character of The Lord of the Rings? You could say Frodo, because he carries the ring. You could say Aragorn, because he's the rightful king. You could say Gandalf, because without him, the Fellowship never forms. But the truth is that every member of the Fellowship mattered. Even Pippin, the fool of a Took, helps shape the fate of Middle-earth, and Hudor is much the same. There isn't one singular hero standing at the center of everything. Frederick is the destined wielder of an ancient relic capable of toppling kingdoms, but Zyphod is the heir to mankind's throne. Villian is a prophetess whose dreams may change the fate of the world, and Sylvie? She's simply an apothecary apprentice who chose to help others when the world needed healing. Some characters may save kingdoms, some may destroy them, others may save a single friend, but all of their stories matter. So who's the main character of Hudor? The answer depends on which story you're following, but if I had to choose, it might just be you.
Hey.
Me?
Yeah, because it's a
Me?
video game series, man. You're playing it. You're gonna get to create your own character.
What inspired its story?
At its core, Hudor is inspired by people. Throughout my life, I've met thousands of people and heard countless stories. No matter where someone comes from, I found that we all have a few things in common. Life can be difficult. We carry the struggles that others don't always see. And deep down, most of us are hoping for something better. But Hudor's story began much earlier. When I was a kid, I had a big imagination and dreamed of a world beyond our own. It was filled with wonder, mystery, adventure, and possibilities I just couldn't stop thinking about. Over the years, more of those dreams came true with new places, new characters, moments of darkness, moments of hope, stories about overcoming impossible odds, and eventually all of those dreams became Hudor. So it's a world inspired by real people, real struggles, and the belief that even in the darkest of moments, hope is worth holding on to.
So as we've been writing and telling people about our stories that are coming together, we have been asked a lot about the characters. And one of the main questions we get asked about the characters is how do we develop them in general for our stories?
Most of the time, it starts with a question. Sometimes it's a world building question. What if there were people made of leaves, vines, and living wood? Then I ask an even more interesting question, like what if one of them couldn't grow plants like everyone else? And that's how Villian was born, a character who stands at the center of her culture while feeling like she doesn't belong in it. Other times it starts with a name. I'll hear a name like Sylvie or Zyphod and think that's too good not to use. And then I build a character around it and ask what struggles, dreams, and story would make them unique. And sometimes the characters just come from pieces of myself, like Frederick's anxiety, self-doubt, and struggle to step into the wider world of all things I've wrestled with in my own life. So at the end of the day, every character starts with curiosity. I ask a question, and then sometimes I spend years discovering the answer.
Awesome. And is it the same for you, Fox, or is it different?
It's different. So for me, a lot of the times the characters are based off of someone I've met in real life. So a friend, a family member, a random person that I've forgotten their name, but in that brief moment we talked, they told me what has happened in their life, and I'm so moved or sad for that person, I add their story to Lightstone, obviously with a fantasy twist and amped up for dramatic effect and being media. Or sometimes the character is the personification of something that has happened to me or someone. So something really dark, messed up, or something really hopeful or helpful, or something that has really pulled us out of the darkness. I take that moment that has happened to me or someone, and I give that moment a personification, a name, and that has really helped forge a lot of the characters in Lightstone. So a lot of the characters have a lot of personal depth for me and a lot of the people in my life.
A lot of people who write know that there are a lot of challenges that you face as a writer. Some people have asked, what are challenges that we have faced since this isn't a full-time thing that we do, and how do we overcome those?
Hitting that wall. What do writers call it? Writer block? Oh my god. So you will be writing, and you and your editor are just going at it, and you're like, oh my god, this is the best. This moment is fantastic. And then you hit that wall, and you and the editor just staring at each other like you have each said the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your life. Like, what? Because you want to get over that hill, you have to write something that makes sense to the characters, makes sense to the story. And what happens to a lot of, especially newer stories by newer authors out there, is they break character, they break story, something that doesn't make sense, and then because fans will find that hole in your story, they will.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, they
so
will.
writer's block is real, but also just life, like this. You still have to live your life, you still have to do a full-time job, you still have to pay your bills, and life a lot of the times isn't very kind to people. So trying to write while pulling out of the darkness is really hard sometimes.
100% can attest to that. And what about you, Zyphod? How do you personally overcome your own challenges?
Well, years ago, I would have told you it was a lack of money and skill or confidence, or maybe even a fear of rejection. But today, I'd give a different answer. Consistency. I've learned that time compounds. If you sit down and work on something for even a few minutes each day, those minutes become hours, then hours become months, and eventually those months become worlds. Most creative projects don't fail because they're bad ideas. They fail because they never have a chance to grow. So I've learned to stop polishing things before they exist, create first, improve later. Because the bugs can be fixed, the rough edges can be smooth, the story can always be revised, but first it has to be made. So the biggest challenge hasn't been talent, it's been showing up day after day and trusting that something worth building is actually taking root. And also, as a
Love
fun
it.
little fact, I once asked Brandon Sanderson this question in person when I met him, and he just said, "Practice. You just got to do it every day."
Best author right there, by the way.
Yep.
Okay, so in the first video that we released, we showcased 4 of the projects that we're working on. One of those was called The Other Worlders. And when people watched the video, they looked at the characters and they noticed that some of them they'd already seen some of those characters in other places that we showcased, like Lightstone or Hudor. Can we explain what The Other Worlders is and why those characters were showcased on it?
Otherworlders kind of began as a simple question of like, what if the world of Lightstone and Hudor met? What if, we saw Fox or Sterling and I's characters collide into the same world? So it started as that kind of collaboration, combining settings of Hudor, Lightstone, and other worlds we'd created over the years. So at first, it's a story about people stranded far from home, searching for a way back to the worlds they'd lost. But the idea has grown since then. So now, in the game that we are creating, in our first planned video game title, Otherworlders Convergence, it is going to be a story about time and space breaking apart. Entire worlds, timelines, and realities are crashing into one another as a mysterious force known as the Convergence threatens to consume them all. It will be a survivors-like bullet heaven where heroes from many different worlds, past and future, must stand together against a threat that could erase every reality they call home. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Did you want to add Sterling or no?
Yeah, Otherworlders to me is I met Alan Zyphod, whatever you'd like to call him, the country singer, I met Alan a long time ago. Lightstone was still a fresh idea. I think it even had a different main character. It was totally out there from what it is today. And when I met him, we were both at the beginning line, the starting line of our stories. And it was funny because we met at the same time, the same, we're both at the starting line. And we would just bounce ideas off each other. We had characters from each other's stories we really liked, and we were like, dang, I want to see these characters interact. That'd be great. Let's do it. And that's kind of what happened. It's just the ultimate crossover between two very different worlds, because these characters have to sit at a tavern together. They just have to.
So in the video that we first released, we talked about dipping into animations and video games. Are we able to, or do we want to go a little bit more into depth about the video games that we plan on releasing?
I would love to. Some of this might be way spoilery, so I will do my best not to do that. There are several types of games we want to make, but when starting your first game, you always want to keep the scope small as you can. So that's why we chose Otherworlders Convergence as our first game, because the primary thing of the primary thing about Otherworlders Convergence is that it is a fun multiplayer game where you can play on the couch with your friends, or you can play online, and you're battling enemies as these different characters. And it's not too story heavy, but it's enough to get you interested and curious. Later, we would love to make a farm sim similar to Stardew Valley and Sunhaven that incorporates different parts of the world of Hudor, involving all the different elements. Actually, let me say that a little differently. Involving the magic system of the 12 elements and how that would shape a world and the crops that you grow and the things that you might do, and interacting with races that have a hard time with fighting each other, with overcoming problems, and just that kind of world where you can find hope and you can help people even when there's like divides and rifts between people. What kind of game would you like to make, Fox?
Oh man, me and Peach have talked about it a lot, but there's like an action roguelike would be fun. A Tales of game, like a Choices Matter style, would be I would love to make something like that, where the story is in the player's hands and it's all of our characters. That would be, honestly, those are my two biggest desires. And the grand that's way out of scope, not even on the plate right now, but on the burner, is one day, hopefully, an MMO, because all of us had always.
Yep.
When you can't find one you don't like, you make one your own.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Omo, Otherworlders MMO.
Omo, dude,
Coming,
you play Omo?
30 years from now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll be making it.
Wait, we're not giving up. We're gonna keep going.
Oh yeah.
Log into Omo.
Omo?
Otherworlders MMO.
We can't call it that because that's so stupid.
We are totally calling it that.
If I saw,
it would stick. It would stick.
If I saw a video game called Omo, I'd be like, ugh.
No homo play Omo.
This is something that I get asked a lot, and I'm sure you guys do too, because we stream together. But how did the three of us come together to form this group, and what exactly is it about each of us that you were attracted to, that you thought, this is somebody that I could write my stories with and be open about it?
It was Fox's eyes, obviously, just entrancing me and pulling me in. In reality, it was kind of funny. We initially met online, playing games together, Fox and I, and then the same happened with Peach. I actually didn't meet them in person right away. In fact, I think they knew each other before I got to meet them. But then we realized we all had that same kind of passion, that shared passion for creative worlds and the creative journey of making stories and characters and having depth in those stories, and not something that's just shallow or something taken at face value, but something that goes a little deeper and explores the parts of people that are just, struggling to overcome darkness.
This is true. We smile through the pain. What about you, Fox?
Kind of the same for me. I remember we all three met at a pretty small window within each other. So I met Peach at work, and I met Zyphod. Technically, I think it was a Walmart parking lot.
It was a
Walmart parking lot.
Great value.
Yep.
First it was PlayStation. It was on PlayStation 4, and then yes, Walmart parking.
Yes, and then Walmart parking lot. It was fantastic. But I met Zyphod, and me and Zyphod just bounced stories between each other, and I realized very quickly that it was really helpful to have someone who also had a creative mind, who you could bounce ideas and stories. And the great thing about that was our stories were similar but very different, and you want some different opinions and some different sides to your story to, expand your audience. And then with Peach, I met Peach up at work, and it was very quick. It was very early on with us two talking that I was like, okay, not only does she also have a very creative mind and very imaginative, but we've all gone through really dark times in our lives, and using those dark times as your core for writing has been a really powerful resource, because you use those moments of like, hey, this has happened to me and it was really bad, and you put that into fantasy. And honestly, the end goal between that is to use what we've learned in our lives to help someone else. So it kind of all, it was a three-way chain click.
It honestly really was.
Yeah.
I could not picture doing this with anybody else. And I don't think I would have, or I don't think any of us would have gotten as far as we have without the others. Like, I think if you take one of us away from any of this, it doesn't happen.
If you take one away, we resurrect that person.
We forge, we continue to forge.
Yeah, I'll do a Zyphod dies. You know the necromancer from what's his name's videos?
Flavor.
And Peach would be the NPC guy standing next to me going,
why am I the NPC?
because I don't imagine you going,
I do shit like that all the time.
fine, join me in the chanting of necromancy.
No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
So you're the NPC guy.
Oh. This is a question that has been asked over and over, and we've had to explain it a lot. So I kind of want to put this one here. And that is, do we plan? We have already talked about, like, we plan on graphic novels, and we're working on video games, which are going to take a long time. But do we plan on making these stories animated? And if so, is that something we want to do, or is that something we would try and outsource?
I can answer this one for hudor for sure, and I would love to do it for Lightstone as well. But all my art research, all my art time and practice has gone toward the idea of, I want to make an anime. I want to make it animated. I want it in that style. I want to see it come to life on a screen. And so absolutely I want to do that. Would I also hire people to help me make it? Absolutely. Do you know how long it takes to animate something? It's ridiculous. People, there are studios of, like, 80 people just to finish one episode of a TV show, and some of those studios have like thousands of people. So yes, help is needed. Sometimes you got to know when to ask for it. Can you do it on your own? Sure. If you want it to come out in years. Many years.
I mean, yeah, there's several animes that take years to come out, and you're right, they have way more than we do.
I'm sorry, guys. I learned a crazy fact. Blue's Clues, a single episode took 10 months to make.
What?
They did insane research to make sure that every single episode was as teaching as it could be, like learning filled as it could be for kids. They tested it in front of like 3 different live kid audiences to see how engaged they were. They sent it. It was the very first Nickelodeon group to have a research department that was straight up researching what was the best way to communicate to kids and keep them engaged. And it was an attempt to try to combat or not combat, but it was an attempt for Nickelodeon to have their own Sesame Street.
I mean, they did well.
They did. They're great. But yeah, 10 months. They had everybody had you had a baby every episode.
Someone had a baby.
Somebody had a baby every episode.
What about you, Fox? Do you want, since we did just talk about Hudor, did you want Lightstone to be animated at some point?
I mean, I feel like that's every author's end goal, right? Maybe they're not looking to animate a movie or something, but Lightstone, I would love for Lightstone to be animated. Would I be interested in doing it myself for just us three? I'm honestly okay. I'm on board with the outsourcing train a little bit because, as he said, 10 months for an episode, and that's with a big team.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like some of these animes have hundreds, if not thousands of people working in those studios, and that's to get a season every 2 years. Like,
yeah,
you know,
it's... Oh, yeah.
As much as I would love it to be just us, if we wanted to be able to bring the stories animated to the fans within a lifetime, a full-on studio would be fantastic.
It would. It just costs so much, and like realistically, if we were to do it ourselves, I feel like the episodes would, it would be early Ruby type of crap.
Ruby season 1.
Ruby season 1 through 3, and I don't know if people want to see that. Like, and realistically, would we be able to tell the stories of Hudor and Lightstone in that kind of style and length? No.
I think we would have a much better shot at just creating the comics or doing like a web comic, and then all of a sudden you've got a storyboard, and then you can hire a team. Exactly. Solo leveling, Tower of God, One Punch Man.
Yep.
All those started that way. So.
Yeah. Right now we can't afford it, so it'll be what we can afford, and then later on, hopefully we can outsource and make an anime for the people.
The people. Totally not for us. Not for us.
I'm not gonna lie, I will cry if I ever see our stuff animated.
Oh yeah, I will. Right there in the theater.
Was there a second half to that question?
It was just could you do it yourself, or would you want to do it yourself? Which you answered.
I would love to be able to.
Yeah, but you've seen what.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a millionaire and had nothing that I could just do anything, I would love to just work on Hudor webcomic, Otherworlders video games. That's it.
Oh yeah, I think that would be like the dream, actually. In the stories that we write in Lightstone and Hudor, as we've talked about, a lot of the stories, the characters come from things that we ourselves have dealt with. And I've been asked this, when we're writing, where do you go to get the inspiration to write, if that makes sense? Like, do you go to those dark places that we've talked about that are inspirations, or do you do something else to get the stories out?
It would depend on the story that I am writing. Almost always, I have certain playlists of music that I love to play that help kind of get me into the mode and into the mind of who I'm writing for. I oftentimes try to put myself in the shoes of the character that I am writing about. And sometimes that does bring me back to, childhood trauma or dark places, depending on which character, because Frederick goes through a lot and has gone through a lot. Villian also has, she's orphaned, basically. And there's, a lot of different characters that have different things happen to them that I can relate to in one way or shape or another. every now and then, if it's like based off of an experience someone else had, I ask them about it. I get their personal feedback. Zyphod was originally based off of one of my brothers, who was in the military. And since I never served in the military, asking him personally like what it was like, and giving him those scenarios, of like what would you have done in this situation, it kind of helps breathe life into what would realistically happen.
Okay. What about you, Fox? What about you, Fox?
Kind of the same. It really depends on the story and the moment in the story that I'm writing. If it's a very dark moment, sometimes I do have to bring up those memories, which does kind of suck sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. If it's a really dark moment and I gotta put myself in that memory, it's not a fun place to have to go, but it does help write. And I do have a playlist of music that I listen to, and I actually have dedicated songs for certain characters that help me get in that character's mindset. Like, this song makes me feel, it brings up this memory, so that song is dedicated to this character, and it really helps me get into that mindset. Or as Zyphod said, a lot of the characters in Lightstone are based off of friends and family, so what's the best way to decide what that character would do? Hey, Peach, what Maya's held at gunpoint. What do you do? You know, it's very much like that. It's very,
the questions that I have asked friends, out of the blue, I have probably gotten them very concerned about my own mental health. But
oh yeah, I feel like you've asked me questions, and I'm like, oh, he's writing for so and so.
At this point, I'm just chronically concerned for Zyphod. It's just like he messages me, and I'm like, what?
You have to ask. You're like, is this real life or is this? Are you
real life or is this fantasy?
Fantasy. You have to ask.
Yeah, you have to ask.
We gotta check on each other, make sure we're okay.
Yeah,
absolutely. Mental health is important.
Okay, so this last question that we're gonna ask today is, where do we see Sunforged Studios going? Like, what is our ultimate goal?
World domination. Always has been, always will be.
Right.
I see Sunforged Studios becoming a based company. And what I mean by that is a company that is not out there trying to get money. We're out there trying to make stories come to life and invite you into a world that you can live in and share with us. And that is something that others have done for us. Me personally, I have had several times where I have learned from the mistakes of characters and stories to avoid problems in my own life or fix them. Some problems you shouldn't avoid. Some you need to face head on. Other ones, you don't even want those problems. You just stay away from those. How about you, Fox?
I see Sunforged Studios becoming what, growing up, there was a company that started off just like we did, and that is Rooster Teeth, if anyone out there knows.
Yes.
And early on, Rooster Teeth was such an escape for me. With their Red versus Blue, their early stuff they did, the beginnings of Ruby, you know, Rooster Teeth was this small group of community, and that's what it felt like you were getting involved with. When you get into a big named anime, you're not like there's a community, there's a fan base, but you're not joining a community. And that's kind of what I think Sunforged Studios is going to become, is when you're a fan, when you become a member of our little, group, you're joining a community, and that's what it is. Yeah. But I want something like early on Rooster Teeth is when you become a fan of something like that. It feels like coming home, or it even feels more like an escape from your day-to-day life, because the group you're joining is such like this small group, and it's fun, it's great, and that's what I hope Sunforged Studios becomes.
Yes.
Yas.
Thank you for joining me for my TED Talk
Who's
You're
Ted?
welcome.
from my bedroom.
You're welcome.